Hello. So yesterday I made a video in which I talked about artificial intelligence changing the internet and things like that. I'd request you to go through that video if you have not already gone through it. Now, this section, as concerns the UGC-NET or other exams in India, is important only to a certain extent, and one would say, why are we looking at this when only so many questions are asked? But I can tell you that AI today is how to answer all sorts of questions. The thing is, when you ask about information that necessarily bears on something like political matters, you can expect all sorts of considerations that inform such answers by AI. So, for example, national education policy in India, PIB. That's one of the sources that I've mentioned in the slides that I've provided here. You can find them on this page, thelanguagefellow.com/downloads. And I'm picking very particular topics to discuss rather than going through the entire thing. There is so much in it that I can go on talking about those things, but I'd encourage you to go through information that's available on the official website yourself. You need to, among other things, you need to make sure that you're visiting the official website often, regularly. So classrooms have changed, NEP 2020, and salient features of. So that's one topic I took up. And what's the debate? You would say, why is it a matter of debate? It's going to be debated in the parliament and so on and so forth. I'm taking up particular topics. Again, I'm choosing topics to avoid all sorts of responses that are possible, and I'm doing so because I do not have time for. I mean, I never get into these things, and I recommend the same to you if you are preparing for an exam, it's like national eligibility test. So it will be a strain on your time and other resources. Avoid that at all costs. So parliamentary debates. That's this kind of thing. So this is the sort of source that you look at when you're talking about where to ask information from. Now, the thing is, media houses employing AI for generating content. Any content that's generated today is likely to have had something from AI, some sort of input. Doesn't have to be the most important things, because they it will not be the most important things, because you cannot trust the machines with certain things. And I can give you, I mean, I was going through the news yesterday and came across Japan military exercise robot dogs. So that's news from 4 days ago. Self-defense forces deploy robots and robot dogs in military drill, and so on. So, if you know about this Boston Dynamics, I have known about this for more than. Again, I have a degree in engineering, so I've known about this for more than a decade. And Boston Dynamics is one company that makes such products. So that's a humanoid robot, and there's a dog-like vehicle and so on. So just pointers. Again, Japan, and now we have AI robots, robots with AI, and right now you're looking at things like the brain of a robot. I mean, put it like that. I'll give myself some leeway and use the analogy and say that it's like the brain of a robot. AI is okay. So getting back to this, you would look at ETNA, you would look at such sources, and the question now is that media companies, publishing houses, all content generated on the internet whatever format it is. It's all been using artificial intelligence, or these machines, statistical machines, I should call them, for some years now, and they're racing. Basically, companies are racing to automate as much as they can so that they can cut costs and work faster and optimize and be more efficient and generate more sales and revenues and profits and turnovers and so on and so forth. So that kind of thing. Engage with more people who are going to be conversions into sales and so on. So that's what we're looking at. That's the kind of thing we're looking at. So media companies use AI to power experiments, boost, okay, whatever it is, PR boosting, right? So PR tool and so on and so forth. So many things. AI based media companies, a this big name again, BBC is they're catching up. That's what's been going on. These people, they're catching up. These are stakeholders, and at the same time, you'll find that media houses have filed suits against AI companies for having used their copyrighted content and so on and so forth. There's spree of legal suits ever since the whole thing developed in November 2022. So spree of list of legal suits following following key AI lawsuits. See, so many. This is just one source. I am doing this in real time. This is the first time I'm looking at this, and I know as much about this as you do. Yeah. So my guess is as good as yours, and you can see it's a long list. So the point is, it's kind of saturated. It's diffused, dispersed. Okay. Status of all 51 copyright lawsuits versus AI. Okay, so you can go through. Okay, that's another. That's something new. Okay, for me. So coming back to news sources, coming back to one key term that I've been using for so long. I've talked about this in previous videos and so on and so forth. I'd like to discuss that. I've mentioned vocabulary and the importance of this, and so many words thrown at you, and I would like to take up one word today and focus on that. The word is database. So yesterday I said wild things um, along the lines of database, and graph of database, and database of graph, and you could think of such complex. I mean, this is wild imaginings. So let's look at database. Database. I'm not getting to what it means and what the history of databases is, and there is a database in a totally morphed form today. You have no structured databases today, so that it's no SQL. I think it's called no SQL. Yeah. So whatever it is, the point is that you customize the way you store information. That is the idea. Otherwise, databases traditionally use tables, and they link these tables and so on and so forth. Database, SQL, online, playground. Let's try that out. I'm using the word playground because I know this from my um, interaction with the whole thing over the years. TB Fiddle SQL database playground, or you could simply try something like this. Try SQL or MySQL. So SQL is how they pronounce it, and so on and so forth. SQL is sequential querying language, something like that. Okay, so the idea is that you have a set of tables, and these tables are linked together in some way or other, and there are access restrictions and um, constraints on these tables. So constraints can include you can access this part, you can access this row, you can access this row given these conditions, and others such as constraints as to what data can be stored and so on and so forth. So data, we are talking about date stamps, time stamps, and data we are talking about the range of numbers that can go in. So it cannot be infinite, of course. So those are the considerations among other things. Okay, so W3 schools has been there for time immemorial, to put it metaphorically again. So tried editor, MySQL compiler, except select concat. SQL tutorial is fun as concatenated string. Okay, so it'll just give you a string, and I don't think there'll be. Okay, there are spaces already, so the spaces are not inserted automatically. And this reminds me, I shouldn't be going like that, but this reminds me, spacey phrase matter or spacey ner or so on and so forth. So generate doc manually spacey tutorial, so on and so forth. It's about immersing yourself in the documentation. Okay, so here's a getting started point, and the tip that I would like to share with you from my experience so far is that you just go through that part of the documentation that you require an answer from, and that is why AI, artificial intelligence, that's what they call it, has become so popular, because it does the spoon feeding that people love. Okay, so you will relate to it if you know anything about Python documentation versions. Simple, gentler introduction, and core docs. So you'll find two different versions. One is gentle introduction, the second one is the actual thing. So what's Python docs gentle introductions? Hmm. No, if you look at Python docs on particular pages, you'll find these gentle introductions, and that is what I'm talking about. So when you go through all of that, you don't necessarily have the know-how or have the background in computer science or the terminology that's used there. For example, if I told you float, you may not know this, right? So float is a particular unit of how numbers are stored and processed and so on and so forth. Okay, so data type. This is one of the things that you deal with when you're making SQL queries. Okay, SQL full form. Structured query language. Okay, not sequential. So I forgot that. Whenever I looked it up last, it was an eternity ago, but yeah, I forgot it. So structured query language, SQL, Oracle is one of the big players, as I've said in previous video. And you could have a look at these. Why I'm mentioning all of these things at the same time is that if you can do this in one language, you can do this in another language. If you can do this in C++, you can do this in Python or any other language you can think of. You can do this in TypeScript. It's just that they provide you different levels of convenience and are tailored to specific needs and audience and so on. So, for example, select, it doesn't have to be capital, it's just the convention. Select user from my table of users where user name equals to Freddy Fontana. Yeah, whatever. And you end it with a semicolon. Okay. Who's Freddy Fontana? Freddy Fontana from this movie. Okay. Anyway, whoever Freddy Fontana is, it's a fictional thing I came up with. But select user from my table of users where username equals to Freddy Fontana. It'll give you the row called, or cell, I should say cell from the table, my table of users. Whether it runs here or not, yeah, my table of users doesn't exist. So for that, I'll have to check. So comments in SQL. So this is a single line comment that it, yeah. So this should comment it out. Let's see. Show tables. Let's see if it works. It's not commenting it out. Yeah. So tables in Northwind, we have categories: customers, employees, order details, orders, products, shippers, suppliers, and so on. So categories. So let's from categories might be case sensitive. Case sensitive is if it's a capital letter that should go there, it has to be capital. You can't ignore that rule. From categories, select everything. There's an error. The error is it starts with select everything from categories. It is case sensitive, as you can see. So these are the categories, and you have 8 categories in all, and you have an entire table. So that's because I selected everything, asterisk or asterisk, whatever it is. That's selecting everything that is available, and you have 3 columns and 8 rows available, right? And this the header I'm not counting as a row. Okay. So for example, if I wanted to select only the second row or second column, category name, that's what a type. So there you are. That's how database querying happens. So when I search national education policy in the news, what is happening behind the scenes, whether it's something touted as artificial intelligence or search engine, what's happening behind the scene is that it's looking up information as it has available. Now, information is unstructured data, structured data. That's one way they like to talk about these things. That's one way it's been coming down from people who've studied these topics. See, I would look at such a thing. Yeah, that's specialized. Article on some very particular things. That's so many things that I wouldn't want to take this up for a discussion here. But you can see that unstructured data is processed using these data pipelines. That's obvious enough from what you have here. So a natural language is unstructured data. See, structured data is often used in machine learning and drives ML algorithms. Unstructured data is often used in natural language processing and is a rich, diverse source for generative models. So IBM, right? Now the point is here, what you pick up is IOB format. I can say all of this because I know about these things. So Spacey, let's say, or before Spacey was there, NLTK IOB format. Yeah. So extracting information from texts. So yesterday I said that you get information on those phrases, right? Or information that is labeled, you could say. So, for example, I came across this is this thing on poster yesterday, and there was Will Arnott, and yeah, the poster said Will Arnott and Laura Dern. Yeah, these are the names. This is not the exact poster, but what I read it was, how I read it was Will Arnett, and Will Arnott is will noun do something. That's what you'd expect, right? So will, given that there's this structure in the language, in the English language. So Will Arnett. Now I don't know, and nor does a computer or AI, so to speak, know if Laura and Dern are necessarily a named entity or not. It'll give you that it is a named entity because Laura Dern is a public figure and everything. Yes, see, and it's getting it from somewhere because add custom names to NER pipeline. That's Spacey, for example. Spacey. You do that when you don't have those names defined. For example, Spacey with a capital C wouldn't exist 10 years ago and wouldn't be allowed, right? It's been designed like that to signify the Cython bit in Spacey, and we'll talk about Cython some other day. Not Cython, yeah, great. That's an example of incidental learning, by the way. And Cython is what I wanted to type. Cython. Spacey. You should read about Spacey as well. I've already said that you should read about Shakespeare open source Shakespeare. I would assign you as homework reading about the Spacey project, how it was developed, and so on and so forth. So there's this Harvard or Stanford, I don't know. Um, it is on YouTube. It is on YouTube, and this lady, I know it from. So there's this lady who taught, who supervised Karpathy's PhD. So Karpathy, I've been saying this for more than 6 years now. And anyway, Shakespeare, RNN, ridiculous or whatever the adjective used was, efficiency, blog post. Unreasonable effectiveness of recurrent neural networks, Karpathy. Okay, so this is Stanford lectures. You can find out more about this, but the point is that Will Arnett Laura Dern is similar to, or probably the same as, something like author, code by author, key protagonist, or I should say title of work referenced in author, name of main character. If you search like that, and why would you search like that? You would search like that because you wanted to give it in one go. You wanted to cut it short. That is one reason you would search like that. So let's say Shakespeare. I can't think of anything else. I beg your pardon. The speak. Okay. I can. Okay. Smack of honor, for example. Shakespeare, smack of honor, both. Let's say there's some Shakespeare in love. That is a real entity. That's why I'm using it. I do not have any association with. I have not watched the film to date. Okay, Shakespeare in love and Shakespeare in love protagonist name. I'll have to find it out myself. Okay. Joseph Fiennes. So this might not result in what I wanted. I have a very particular example on my mind, but this is the format. This is the format. This, if you search it like that, author, code by the author, and then title of work, referenced in authors, in the work. Yeah. So in a derivative work, name of main character. Okay, so that's the structure of what I've just queried, and you can see what comes up. AI has something to say about it. AI will have something to say about everything because it has to develop. So it's a greedy algorithm. Again, this is not what a greedy algorithm means, but yes, it's greedy for sure. Okay, it's greedy to the extent imaginable, as greedy as it gets. The more you feed it, the more it wants. Great. And you could try this with any other examples that you could come up with. It's not something too difficult. But AI can mess up such things. And as you can see, not such slight flexibility. Categories, select category name is permitted here. It'll throw an error, right? So this is one of the key differences between natural languages and systems which are developed for various purposes, including DBMS or database management systems. Here we have structured query language, and this is meant to query data from tables, sets of tables connected with each other. I have mentioned this before. I'm mentioning it again. ERD, entity relationship diagram, is what you start with when you are developing a database, and you could ask AI to come up with ERDs and everything, and that's a separate thing altogether. But with AI, thing is, those who developed this, they can't explain it to you. That's why we have explainable AI. Okay, and at the same time, you have the fact that information retrieval where the sources are not questionable. Sources are questionable again. If you belong to a political party, you'd ask, okay, why should I trust AI that quotes sources which are developed by another party, another political party? So this is it, getting into closed systems, open systems, and this is getting into interests. Interests can be of all sorts. This is about things along the lines of what I've said yesterday. What I said yesterday. This is about, for a start, national interests. It makes it easy. Giving you this example makes it easy for me to drive the idea home. That's why I'm using this particular example. And of course, there are personal interests, and I've said things like banking applications and so on, right? So you could, a classic case would be British Library cyber security incident lessons learned. So you cannot, again, the point is that it'll be some sort of information retrieval. It can be highly systematic, like this, not even allowing anything other than that particular format. And this is where, by the way, this is where you start learning to hack systems. So um, injecting malicious SQL. Yeah, attack surfaces overview. AI used for cyber crime. So you could be as imaginative as you like. So let's check out. Yeah, so hacking starts with the physical access to devices. You could have physical access hacking types, methods, and so on and so forth. So it's up to you. If you want to get into this, you can, and AI can help, I guess. So here you have it. From deepfakes to dark LLMs, 5 use cases of how AI is powering cybercrime. That's 2025, some months ago, and scam and phishing is how it is labeled as. So SEO is one of the things I've mentioned in the slides, and that's where this comes up. You have to have keywords to be able to organize and to be able to advertise where it is relevant and so on. So impersonation, deepfakes, scam call centers, self-hosted dark LLMs, uncensored, crime-optimized AI models that produce phishing kits, scam scripts, malicious code without safeguards. And that's one of the things. That's see, I was going through this interview of the creator of Python, the programming language. It's Gidawon Rossum, and he said that in time AI will learn to do CPP also, C++ also. So that's a relevant thing here because you cannot totally depend on artificial intelligence produced code to use it in production, in a production environment. That's technical, but production environment is a live website, and live website would be something like what you see here. Okay, so you have to take care of the security aspect of the whole thing, and for that you'll have to be thorough with what you're looking at. You can't, again, you can use read you can read using AI, but again, that's best read from trusted sources, not experimental stuff. And AI is in experimental stages, one or the other, but it is in experimental stages. Unless you're talking about things like, okay, I copied this whole section or sections from this source, and that's why it is trusted. If you don't trust this, you don't trust the source or the authors and the organizations. And I've already talked about redactions, for example. And vulnerabilities is something that you discuss when you discuss cybersecurity, and vulnerabilities are what pay in the area. Okay, you have to find some weakness in the system. That's how you create a backdoor or gain access and so on. So yeah, this is all. You can imagine me to be a science fiction writer. Okay, I don't know anything more than that about any of it. So yes, that's this. You can find out more about this, but how AI is going to change that aspect of technologies that you have today. I'm particularly interested in Internet of Things because you can think of all sorts of IoT for mass data collection. That is the kind of environment that you have today, and your phone is very much a source of information, data, source of data for conglomerates, for companies, for people who run the world, you could say. Okay, I don't want to get into the details, but if your life is controlled, if your life is managed, micromanaged by a few, then you should, I mean, think about how much of the control you can gain back. Because once you are dependent on a mobile phone, for example, and you are, and we are, I am dependent on a mobile phone, I am dependent on technology all the time. And once you're dependent on it, if you lose access to this, what do you do? And that's why I talked about Kiwix yesterday, for example. Okay, and offline Wikipedia or Kiwix, Wix, and local LLM, Hacker News, Y Combinator. That's what I highlighted yesterday. Yeah, local LLMs versus offline Wikipedia. This is what we are looking at when we are talking about databases as they exist today. So, types of databases available for web development today. Types, I said types, paradigm or whatever it will be, but relational database, NoSQL database, graph database is something I've pointed to already. Time series database, document database, in-memory database, and so on. So Redis is one. Redis is in-memory database, for example. that kind of thing. So that's it for this one. You can find out more. I would not recommend going through pictures to understand things, because this is as good as a picture dictionary is. So it's like you're not reading the, not this one, internet protocol. Yeah. So you're not reading this. Instead, you can't read the entire thing again. That's what I've said. If you're reading documentation, you have to go through the sections that you need to know about. You go through the particular parts, not everything. But you're not reading this. Instead, you're using slides or highly derivative material, and excusing yourself by saying that this is the way I learn, and so on and so forth, which is all well and good, and good for knowledge economy, and other very crucial considerations. But it's not, I mean, ultimately it's an excuse for not actually going through this. It's the same as let AI spoon feed me instead of me reading Chaucer, or let me go through these notes from this third party, or whatever it is that you're using, or asking me, for example, to make it piecemeal, and so on and so forth. And today, artificial intelligence agents, or whatever they call them, they can do all of this for you. So anyway, that's it for this one. Databases and SQL is where you can start. It's all variation of how you write the command. You can call it a command, you can call it an instruction, and they mean differently in different contexts. So instruction is in a processor will mean something much more different than um, an SQL statement per se, let's say. Okay, so that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. We'll keep discussing this these slides in other videos to come. Thanks a lot.